Hey guys, how is everybody doing today? I really hope you guys are being productive in quarantine, right? This is Robopsar, and today I am going to be teaching you guys chemistry. If you guys know me, you know that I started off with this whole Join Robopsar thing with Join Robopsar chemistry. And I'm just particularly excited for this one, right? Alright, getting right into it. Ajker topic, the one that we're going to cover today, is for AS. First of all, and it's redox reactions, right? All right, now I got a request for this, so that's why I'm covering this. This is a relatively easier topic, okay? So it's just a bunch of half equations and a few rules that we have to keep in mind, and that's all, okay? Now, getting right into it, let me just adjust the, all right, yeah, I think this is better, yeah. All right, redox. What exactly is redox? It's basically a type of reaction which involves two processes. ठीक है sir? The two processes are reduction, that's the red, right? And oxidation. That's the ox. And it's in the name, redox reactions. Great. Now, what exactly are these two processes? আমরা একটু অক্সিডেশনের দিকে দেখি. Oxidation is defined as two things. First of all, as a gain of oxygen, right? And secondly, as a loss of electrons. All right? Giving you a simple example. Imagine we have magnesium, right? Magnesium-এর সাথে আমরা oxygen-কে যদি react করাই, right? We react magnesium with oxygen and that forms magnesium oxide. So it balance kore we balanced it. Great. What is happening here? First of all, this magnesium has gained an oxygen. There you go. And formed magnesium oxide. All right? Great. That means this magnesium has been oxidized. But the second thing is also happening here, right? Kemne? What we know is magnesium is part of group 2, right? Magnesium is part of group 2. So that means magnesium has 2 electrons in its outermost shell. And oxygen has conveniently 6 electrons in its outermost shell, right? Great. So what happens is this magnesium transferred these 2 electrons to the oxygen, and that way, we all know the whole, full octet thing, full outermost shell korte hobe. So that's why it does that. Great. Now, what is happening here? One thing that we need to remember is the fact that whenever we have an element, right, you have just an element. This is just an element because this is just magnesium. This is a compound because it's a combination of 2 elements. This is also an element. Whenever something is in its elemental form, or it's just that, right, in its natural form, it always has a charge of 0, right? Now, what else do we know? We know that whenever something is giving away its electrons, its charge increases. A chapter, we call that charge the oxidation number. It's called the oxidation number. Now what happens is যখন ম্যাগনেসিয়ামটা ওর 2টা ইলেকট্রন দিয়ে দেয়, this magnesium turns to Mg2+, or this magnesium atom turns to a magnesium ion, and its oxidation number has increased. And if something gains an oxygen, loses an electron, and its oxidation number increases, that means it has been oxidized, right? So I hope that's clear. Moving on from oxidation to reduction, which is pretty much the opposite of it, right? What is reduction? Reduction is basically the opposite of oxidation. Reduction, the first criteria is that whatever element is being reduced has to gain a hydrogen. I hope you can understand my handwriting. My handwriting onek baje, I'm sorry about that. And it has to gain an right? It has to gain an electron. Alright? So এই দুটা criteria. So an example of that would be something like copper oxide, copper 2 oxide with hydrogen, right? Forms copper and water, right? Sorry. Yeah. See that? Great. এখন এই reaction, what is happening to this copper right here? This copper is losing an oxygen. Now that's also a definition of reduction. It could also be losing oxygen, right? Losing oxygen, gaining hydrogen, either way, right? So it loses an oxygen. So oxygen যখন lose করে গেল, this copper oxide, this was in E form, compound form, right? So in compound form, this copper had a charge of 2+. But এখানে এসে this copper is now an element or just an atom. এখানে ion ছিল compound-এ, এখানে এসে atom হয়ে গেছে. So that means this has a charge of 0. So what happens to its oxidation number? 2+ থেকে কমে 0 হয়ে গেছে, right? And it also loses an oxygen. So that means this copper has gained electrons first of all, right? এখানে 2+ ছিল, so it gained 2 electrons and then formed 0. And that means this copper has been reduced. Alright? So I hope that's clear. Now, let me just get into a few of the rules, right? Oxidation number rules that we have to remember, because reduction je question gulo ashe, they won't just give you an equation and be like, yo, explain konta ki hocche, konta oxidize hocche or reduced hocche, right? There are a few rules that we need to remember when we're dealing with oxidation and reduction, which are, first of all, which basically involve oxidation numbers. Oxidation numbers. Can? Because usually imagine if someone gives you like a compound like P2O5 or something like that, or NH3, and then I ask you what is the oxidation number of this element, or what is the oxidation number of this element, right? How do we find that out? Now, to find that out, there are a few rules that we have to keep in mind. Let's see what they are. The rules are, number 1, group 1 elements are always +1. Group 1 elements always have an oxidation number of +1. Alright, if you're dealing with lithium, sodium, anything like that, they will always have an oxidation number of +1. Now, what's the second rule? It's that group 2 elements are always +2. If we're dealing with magnesium or something like that, group 2 elements always have an oxidation number of +2. Fluorine, no matter what, is always -1. Fluorine always has an oxidation number of -1. Now, mind you, oxidation numbers are only present whenever something is in a compound form. For example, ekhane like P2O5, this is a compound, so এই সবগুলোর oxidation number or charge আছে, like plus, minus, whatever. এটাতেও same. But if I listed down an element, right, something like N2 or O2, these are elements. They're not compounds, they're not ions, they're just molecules. Either oxidation number or their charge will always be 0. Always. No matter what. Right? Okay. এখানে দেখি. So don't get confused when I'm talking about like fluorine is always -1, right? Like not like যদি আমি just randomly like যদি F2 দিয়ে দেই and this is like -1. No. It's not. F2 যদি আমার কাছে just fluorine থাকতো, it would be 0, right? So what's the next rule? Number 4 is that hydrogen. Okay, so hydrogen is weird, right? Hydrogeনের oxidation number or charge is different with metals and non-metals. ঠিক আছে? When hydrogen is with metals, যখন মেটালসদের সাথে থাকে তখন it's -1. But when it's with non-metals, it's +1. Hydrogen just behaves like that, right? So that's just something that we have to know, right? For example, if we had an element like a compound like sodium hydride. Now sodium is a metal itself. So sodiumer charge হচ্ছে +1, but hydrogener হবে -1, right? Same ভাবে যদি আমি এরকম নেই CH4, right? This is methane, right? এখানে আবার হাইড্রোজেনের চার্জ is +1, which is crazy, right? Number 5, the 5th rule is that oxygen is always -2 except in peroxide, right? যখন আমরা হাইড্রোজেন পেরক্সাইড or any kind of peroxide এ থাকবে তখন হচ্ছে oxygen is -1. So oxygen is always -2, but imagine আমার কাছে H2O2 আছে. Now H2O2 is hydrogen peroxide. এখানে oxygen's charge is -1. Also, if it is an F2O, this is an exception, right? F2O, a compound oxygen's charge is +2, because see fluorine is always -1. So এখানে আমার দুইটা fluorine আছে, so এটা -1 into 2 forms -2. Now this kind of brings me to the next part of explaining like how to bring out charges and everything in a compound. So for example, আমার কাছে একটা compound আছে, right? Like CaCO3, right? Calcium carbonate. Great. এখন কথা হচ্ছে what's the overall charge of this compound? Now individual প্রত্যেকটা আয়নের কিন্তু আলাদা আলাদা চার্জ আছে, বাট সবগুলা চার্জ মিলে overall what's the charge? Overall charge is 0, because এখানে উপরে কোনো চার্জ দেওয়া নাই. সেম ভাবে আমার কাছে যদি একটা কম্পাউন্ড থাকতো like ClO2 minus. Now see, this compound has an overall charge of -1. What does that mean? That basically means that এই যে প্রত্যেকটা কম্পাউন্ড, প্রত্যেকটা আয়ন, every single ion adds together to form a charge of 0. এখানে every single ion adds together to form a charge of -1. How? দেখি, আমরা ক্যালসিয়াম কার্বনেটটা ফার্স্টে দেখি, right? CaCO3, right? Yeah. So calcium is in group 2, right? Calcium is in group 2. So আমরা ফার্স্টে রুলগুলো থেকে জানি that group 2 elements always have a charge of +2. So ক্যালসিয়ামকে আমরা সুন্দরভাবে +2 এর একটা চার্জ দিয়ে দেই, রাইট? দেন আমরা জানি, আচ্ছা ইমাজিন আমি বলছি, I just forgot one thing, like imagine they tell you like বের করতে কার্বনের এখানে চার্জ কত, রাইট? এখানে কার্বনের চার্জ কত, এটা বের করতে বলতাম, yeah. So moving on, group 2 হচ্ছে always +2, so calcium is +2. Oxygen, right? Oxygen is always -2 except in peroxide and F2O. যখন F2O তে তখন হচ্ছে +2, but this is none of those exceptions, so this will be just a normal -2, right? -2. But এখানে একটা সবার একটু হালকা কনফিউশন থাকে. It's the fact that অনেক সময় কম্পাউন্ডের সামনে এরকম দেওয়া থাকে, রাইট? লাইক এরকম একটা 2 দেওয়া, তখন যদি আমাদেরকে চার্জ বের করতে বলে, sometimes what we do is এইটা জাস্ট মাল্টিপ্লাই করে দিই প্রত্যেকটার সাথে, and let me just tell you, লাগে না, you just don't need this, when you're finding, at least when you're looking for the charge of a specific ion in the compound, this is just basically the number of moles of the compound there is. So that does not affect anything. What does affect is this number. So when I tell you that oxygen has a charge of -2, I'm telling you, when I'm telling you that oxygen has a charge of -2, I'm telling you that one ion of oxygen, only one ion of oxygen has a charge of -2. So আমার কাছে যদি দুইটা থাকতো, it would be -4. যদি তিনটা থাকে, it will be -6. Right? Always remember that. So এখানে আমার O3 হচ্ছে -2. So এখানে তিনটা, so that means that will be -6 or -2 into 3. So এটাকে যদি অ্যাড করি, -6, right? কার্বনেটটা আমরা জানি না. So কার্বনেটটা what we do is we put it as an X or any variable, doesn't really matter. It's just simple math. And then overall compounded charge koto? 0. And now when we solve for X, amra peye jai. So X is equal to 6 minus 2 or plus 4, right? So that's basically what there is. That's basically what it is. It's just simple algebraic math. Finding out the charge of an ion in a compound. এইভাবে করলে আমরা